We're going to be doing a actual mad scientist reacts to the best internet science memes. I've got 3 main groups of memes we're going to look at. Just plain old science memes. Then a special hashtag called overly honest methods. And then another special hashtag called review for science.
Got it.
So the very first, okay, so first tell me where you are and what you've been doing. Your mad scientist dream vacation.
Okay, my mad scientist dream vacation. We are in Boca Chica, Texas, which is 4 miles from a real space station called Starbase that Elon Musk has developed out here. I've been busy taking photographs of as close as I can get to the rockets and all of the other equipment, and I got chased out once by security.
Okay. You haven't told me.
So I stayed up on the sand dunes after that, and took pictures from high up on the sand dunes.
Okay.
Oh, and I got to meet Boca Chica Maria, which is she calls herself Starbase's first real neighbor, and she videos everything that live streams everything that's going on from SpaceX. And then there was another guy that does blogs on everything SpaceX. Is called Cosmic Perspective. And so I sat and chatted with all the bloggers and the vloggers and everything.
So here we are, live from Boca Chica, Texas, where actual mad scientist is practicing the madness, if not the science. Okay, so I'm going to screen share. This is the first meme and the one that kind of started this. Do you see? Okay, screen share. Okay. Do you see this?
Yes, but it's tiny. Let me see if I can read it.
Well, I'll read it to you. It's just text. Most mad scientists in movie are actually just mad engineers. It's always, I'll use this gigantic laser to blow up the moon. And never, I'll test the effect this gigantic laser has on the moon. My hypothesis is that it will blow up. I'm going to test the deadly effects of neurotoxin on the island of Manhattan. The control group will be Long Island, which I will not release deadly neurotoxin upon.
I'm definitely in the blow it up camp.
Okay, but why are you actually a mad scientist and not just a mad engineer? So what's the difference between science and engineering? Enlighten our listeners.
Well, the mad scientist sees what's happening and wants to know why. They want to know why, and they'll do any experiment they can think of to know why. They've got to know why. The engineer thinks he knows why and is performing a set of experiments to prove that he knows why.
Okay. So, and let's go. Can you recite the savage principle from Mythbusters?
Oh, you mean the one that says if you ain't writing it down, you're just screwing around?
Well, yes, but the principle itself is the only difference between science and screwing around is writing things down. So, why are you an actual mad scientist and not just a mad engineer? Tell the good folks what you do.
Well, I do the experiments and I write down the data. I record the data, and then I send it off to be evaluated and put on the spreadsheets and put in a nice concise order so I don't have to.
Okay, but you take your notes and you record your data and you set up controls for your experiments. And
yeah. I hate doing that, but I have to. So like I don't want to be just screwing around. If you can't remember it, so you have to record it. You have to take the time. Usually though, my hands are covered in goo. So I'm like, if I touch the pencil and the paper now, I'm going to get a mess anyway. And then by that time I'm off on another tangent. So it's one of the most difficult things I find about doing lab work and experiments is forcing myself to record it.
Okay, so let's start taking a look at the memes. All right, this is an excerpt from a physics history book. It's Physics Chapter 1.1, History. Aristotle said a bunch of stuff that was wrong. Galileo and Newton fixed things up. Then Einstein broke everything again. Now we've basically got it all worked out, except for small stuff, big stuff, hot stuff, cold stuff, fast stuff, heavy stuff, dark stuff, turbulence, and the concept of time.
So we used to think we knew it all. Now we know now we know that we know nothing.
Yes, pretty
About
much.
right. That's pretty. That that's what it is. And in my own experience, every time I make a discovery, it destroys my previous theory on why what is happening, and so I have to rework the theory each time, and every time I make it one seemingly insignificant little change, thinking it will do this thing, it does another thing entirely, and I have to rewrite my my theory or my hypothesis. So
Okay, so the next meme is just a post, a Twitter post from a gentleman who works for NASA. He says, "Hello, my name is Joby. I have a PhD in physics and I work for NASA. And I just had to look up the equation for the volume of a sphere."
you can't hold them equations and all that information and data in your head. And if you don't use it, you lose it. So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, this is a sort of a requote of the Sherlock Holmes thing where he and Watson are first getting introduced to each other, and Watson discovers that Sherlock didn't remember that the Earth revolved around the sun. And Watson says, "Look, useful information that I don't need on a daily basis, I keep out in the woodshed. That's my library." Okay, this is a famous meme image. You have these two people on a platform, and one of them has like 30 microphones in front of them and is clearly responding to questions, and the other guy just looks really sulky because he only has this one tiny microphone in front of him. And it's used to the meme template is used to indicate when one person is doing all the work and another person is getting all the credit. And in this case, the person who's doing all the work is phytoplankton. And the person who's getting all the credit is trees getting all the credit for oxygen.
Show off.
Phytoplankton is far more efficient at turning carbon dioxide into oxygen, and there's a lot more of it, but we don't see it on a daily basis.
There's more of it, and they're not as they don't show up at the party as much as trees do. You know, trees are out there; you can see them all the time. So
it's true. All right, the next meme is a pretty famous. It's a picture of Mr. Bean making a frustrated face.
Yeah.
And it says, "When you spend $1.5 billion to build and launch the Hubble Space Telescope, only to realize once it's in space, it takes blurry photos."
I would have made a different face, like crap. But I don't think his face matches the meme. That was obviously a shocker, and we knew we'd have to fix it, but that isn't the emotion I'd associate with that.
Fair enough. Okay, now this one I'm going to, let's see if I can type this into the chat box because you really have to see it. So you have, let's see. Why do we call it pizza?
Okay, this is why it's called pizza. I can only see that image partial.
Okay, so what's the formula for the volume of a cylinder? It's of course pi. Sorry, we just lost everything you said. Okay. Okay, we just lost everything you said to static.
Okay.
Okay,
You
so
asked me a question. What's the volume of a cylinder?
yeah.
Well, I'm like that previous meme we did. I'd have to look it up.
Well, I'm looking right at it because I can see the full meme. So it has the volume for the cylinder is pi times the radius squared, which is the surface area of a circle, times the height of the cylinder. And this diagram has the height of the cylinder labeled as A, the thickness of the pizza. The radius is labeled Z. So you have pi z squared A, which when you put that into letters, it's P-I-Z-Z-A.
Okay, I get it now. That one went over my head. Because I couldn't see the picture. Okay.
Okay, this is a famous meme that was going around Tumblr. It has many, many different iterations. I found one that was handy. And the question is, can you lick the science? Chemistry says, no, do not. Geology says, sometimes dangerous, but sometimes necessary. Psychology, best not. Physics is what? How? And of course, in zoology, the science licks you.
Yeah.
In computer science, the tingle of the electricity on your tongue is how you know it's working. In software engineering, nothing else has made the code work, so you might as well try.
That's right.
And in astronomy, look, if your dedication to lick Uranus is what it takes to get humankind to another planet, then so be it.
Yeah, whatever. Much. My favorite high school teacher, science. I walked into his classroom one time. I learned so much from this guy, and he was sitting at a desk, and there was this lump of something. It looked like some kind of piece of combination of mold and bread, gunk or something. And I said, "Ooh, what is that?" And he looks at it and he goes, "I don't know." And he picks it up and he turns it over and he feels of it and then he sniffs it. And to my horror, he put it in his mouth, chewed it up and swallowed it. And I went, "You did not just eat and swallow that." And he said, "Well, yes, I did." I said, "Well, what was it?" And he goes, "Well, I still don't know."
A brave man, a truly brave man. Okay, you remember Darth Maul from the prequel trilogy.
Yes.
That was the evil Sith with the red skin. And when you want to know the difference between radius and diameter, it's really simple. And the first picture has him with one side of his lightsaber lit, and then the second picture for diameter has one with him with both sides of his lightsaber lit.
Well, I get it, but I don't think it's that funny. I mean,
I think you have to be
maybe.
Okay,
yeah,
so this one is funny whether you know it or not. So it's a very, very simple image. It's at the top, it says Krebs cycle.
Yeah.
And then it has two cycle symbols. You start at learn the Krebs cycle. You cycle to forget the Krebs cycle. And then you cycle back to learn the Krebs cycle. And the Krebs cycle is a very, very important cycle that you have to learn in biology. And I have completely forgotten which of the cycles it is, and I'm stuck here and forget the Krebs cycle, and I'm going to have to go back and research it. Again, it's very niche.
Isn't Krebs cycle the energy mitochondria energy cycle?
See? Yeah. See, you're closer to the learn the Krebs cycle point in this. This is the retaining the Krebs cycle.
That's because people keep asking me about it on my blog, and I keep having to look it up again.
Okay, so this is a subreddit of r/Reddit no stupid questions. So here's the question they posted. Do you think it's possible for someone to be actually very intelligent but poor at articulating to the point they're trying to make so that they come across as stupid? And the first answer is, have you met engineers?
I get so frustrated about that. I'm currently working on an invention, and the investor was very frustrated at me time and time again. I kept coming up with these fixes for the problems we were having, and then when he'd ask me why or how, I did attempt to make an explanation, but it just didn't. They would look puzzled. They would end up scratching their heads, and I knew it. I could say it in my head, but it wouldn't come out of my mouth. Right. Anyway, so.
Okay, the trials of engineering.
Totally.
Okay, this is another famous visual meme I'm going to have to describe to you. It's one of those pictures where you have the main image of the person, then it's overlaid with a couple of translucent images to enforce an emotion. And it's a stress one. This guy he's really stressed about something. He's preparing himself for some trial. And the title is, of course, Science Teacher Getting Ready to Say Uranus in Front of a New Generation of 14-year-olds.
I still can't think about saying that without, I'm like, why did they name a planet that? It just is, it's too, somebody did it just because they met when they got their funding withdrawal for the planetary research.
Must be.
I'll show you Uranus and let people laugh about it.
All right, now we're into one of our hashtags, which is hashtag overly honest methods. People went through the method section of a scientific report. So can you share with our audience what is a method section of a scientific paper?
The method section describes in detail exactly what you did and how you did it and how often you did it and how much you did it with.
Yes, and why you did it that way.
Yeah,
and
why you did it.
These were actual methods submitted in papers where the scientists were a little too honest. So this one says, blood samples were spun at 1500 RPM because the centrifuge made a scary noise at higher speeds.
And they didn't want to call the tech guys in.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this one's kind of painful. We didn't read half the papers we cite because they're behind a paywall.
Oh, I hate that. That is one of my pet peeves. I'll look at a title for a PDF, and I go, oh, I want to read that so bad. But then I get to it, and it says this much money, and I go, I don't want to read it that bad. So what I'll usually do is I'll take a sentence I know should be in that paper, and I'll type in that sentence, and a lot of times I can pull the paper up without having to go to the paywall. But
if that doesn't work, a scientist shared a workaround. Go to the lead scientist, find their contact information, email them, and ask them for the PDF. They don't get any money from these journals, and they're usually more than happy to share an original PDF of the scientific paper with you if you ask.
Oh.
All right, this is another fun one. This dye was selected because the bottle was within reach.
I don't on the screen. I'm selected. I'll reach absolutely, and I have altered my experiment and something that I was scheduled to do the next day, but I did it that day because I could reach the right bottom.
Yeah. All right, this one really speaks to me. When I was an undergraduate, we had to do our genetics lab on fruit flies. And so we had to be in there at very specific hours to check on the fruit fly larvae before they were old enough to reproduce. So we could separate out the males and the females before they started making babies. And I volunteered for the 1 a.m. shift. And we did this in the field ecology lab. So I let myself into this building. You know, I walked through the creepy, foggy campus at 1 a.m. I let myself into the building where it's all hollow and echoey. And then I let myself into the field lab that's just full of shelf upon shelf of these horribly distorted bodies of all these different kinds of animals, up to and including humans, bathed in the preservative. And of course, there's the casket against the wall that has the university's human body, and there's a bucket of human organs, but then there's just like snakes and fish and bears and odd antlers laying around. So, but anyway, so that was an experience, it just gets a little creepy. But anyway, this overly honest method states the experiment was carried out from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. because the lab is deserted and creepy after office hours. Not an option when
I would get that. I would be torn between being creeped out and going, oh, cool, because I could look at everything without anybody bothering me.
Yeah, I definitely felt that when I was alone in the lab with all the specimens. Okay, yeah. So this says all reagents were purchased from Fisher Scientific because Fisher is like the Walmart of science.
Ah, okay.
I take it that means more if you've actually had to buy stuff from them.
So that's like, I wasn't aware of that about Fisher, but that's like me getting all of my, when you're funding yourself, your tools come from Harbor Freight. But when when someone else is funding you, you can go to Lowe's.
Yeah. This one has to do with sample size. We assume 50 Ivy League kids represent the general population because actual real people can be sketchy or expensive.
Okay, yeah. They don't want to that, but what do you call that when you're not wanting to taint your data, and when you choose when your selection is biased? That's what
selection bias.
Selection bias. Yeah.
The engineering language thing again. Okay. This one is just kind of funny. Tiny metal rods were used to unravel each of the hundreds of butterflies' proboscis for feeding every flippin' day.
That poor butterfly.
Those poor butterflies.
Those poor butterflies. Can you imagine somebody pulling your tongue out every single day? What were they doing?
Feeding them for some research cycle. PCR reaction repeated for 25 cycles because that's how long it takes to go to each class.
Yeah, but what were the original instructions?
Okay, we don't know how the results were obtained. The postdoc who did all the work has since left to start a bakery.
Oh, that really happens. That is so frustrating. Oh, yeah, I hope nobody in my research group dies.
Well, or starts a bakery. Okay. We did not make the corrections suggested by reviewer 1 because we think reviewer 1 is an idiot.
Yeah, but you lose a lot of really cool information that way.
Yeah. So this overly honest methods has just kind of a tongue-in-cheek, but you can really feel the emotion behind it. The samples incubated at ambient temperature in a remote border customs office for 5 months.
Oh. Were they even viable after that?
Oh, one hopes.
Well, yeah, but with that, when you have such a clear definition, you can use that data.
Yeah.
When exact.
So sample size was smaller than planned because I had been in grad school for 10 years and my advisor wanted me to graduate.
Oh, the frustration. Yes, I get that.
And this one is more of a large scale thing. Reagent became unavailable in 2002 because nobody wanted to order more and risk being put on and added to terrorist watch lists.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. Some of the chemicals I'm currently ordering for this current research experiment I'm doing, what are chemicals that you could, if applied and mixed differently, make explosives with. And I keep thinking, am I going to be contacted? Is the FBI going to drive up in my driveway? I just want these little tiny samples. So I hope not.
So this one says rat sacrifices were performed to Tom Petty because that's how we roll in this lab.
Well, when you got to blenderize a brat, you want to have some decent music to go with that function.
Then you have this one in the similar frivolous vein. Our sample locations happen to match tropical resort towns because field work doesn't have to be mud and agony.
Ah, yes. When you get to choose, it's really cool.
Okay, so that's enough for overly honest methods. We're going to switch to our second hashtag, which is review for science.
Okay.
So this one is a bunch of scientists. You know, sometimes you purchase things at Lowe's, sometimes you purchase them at Home Depot, sometimes you purchase them from Fisher Scientific, sometimes you purchase them on Amazon and leave an honest review. So this is for a turkey baster. Review, 5 stars. The best mosquito larvae collector available. Perfect for sampling tree hole dwelling species. Clear tube for easy species ID. Narrow enough to sample from pitcher plants. Brush lets you remove detritus. Probably not the kind of review the turkey basting company was hoping for, but.
And that's just that is so awesome because sometimes the tools that you need don't exist at the places you normally purchase tools from, and you just have to go and look for something that's so real. That's awesome.
All right, the next one is a review for Loctite superglue, the gel formula. Occasionally effective in attaching RFID tags and radio transmitters to bees. Warning, angry bees adhere instantly to human skin. 1 out of 5 stars.
Oh, someone went to the ER.
Probably. Okay, the next one is for a simple rubber mallet. Effectively smashes freeze-dried clouded leopard poop to a fine dust. Bonus, works for cheetah scat too.
Oh my. Well, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think they'll use that in their advertisements, though.
Probably not. This one is for a 300 mini light Christmas tree light set. We couldn't get Triceratops mosquitoes to mate in the lab. Then we hung these mood lights. No more forced mating.
That's for real?
Well, that's what as real as anything, as real as you can say anything on the internet is. Okay. This one,
if it's real.
This one is for a product that you like to use, I know.
Uh-huh.
Those little picks with the bristles on the sides that you can put in and out of your mouth.
Yep. Yeah.
Really, really excellent for getting the brains out of very small bird skulls.
Oh, they would be, wouldn't they? That's excellent. Yep. Except you couldn't get them out intact, which I like to do.
All right, this one is one that as a field ecologist I enjoyed. The button-down pockets on this flannel shirt are perfect for storing bats in when you run out of bat bags. Sadly, the red color does attract some biting flies.
When you got good pockets, that's a blessing.
Yeah. All right, so this is Veet hair removal cream. Handy for removal of mouse fur for various cancer studies. Gentle enough, does not harm mouse, avoids need for shaving. Neither mouse nor human enjoy the smell.
Well, I would disagree with that. If they're doing mouse studies with that, my brain won't make a joke out of that, because if they're doing mouse studies and cancer studies, there's got to be some interference with the chemicals in that hair removal system. I mean, just because it's not damaging the skin apparently damaging the skin doesn't mean it's not having an impact on the study.
Hopefully they put it in the methods. All right. Thin yoga mats make great fish surgery table covers. Easy to clean, sterilize, waterproof, and pretty durable. 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay, yoga mats. Well, they would. I have a yoga mat at home, and I kept thinking, this would make be excellent for something. I'm not sure what, but not just yoga, because I don't want to do that anyway.
Turns out mesh lingerie bags make affordable, collapsible, and well-ventilated insect collection cages.
Well, yeah, they sure would.
All right. Want to leave scientific monitoring equipment underwater for months without stuff growing on it? Legs Women's Energy 3-pack of sheer pantyhose work great.
I use those for all kinds of applications. They make excellent strainers.
Here's one that goes to our good friend IKEA. They have a special bag they use for carrying out those boxes of furniture. Turns out some scientists discovered that these boxes were ideal for moving swans. And as they said, perfect size for weighing swans, ideal wipe clean material. Recommend ensuring swan is first contained in the swan jacket. And then, of course, we've got, we'll do one more. Plastic lawn flamingos are effective seafloor markers, helping you relocate study sites during deep sea exploration. Local breweries may also barter beers in exchange for photos from 2,452 meters below sea level. Beer used for post-crew debriefings only.
Like, whoa, what is this thing doing down here?
It definitely looks unnatural in the situation.
Hey, yeah, but I love that bow tie.
Okay. So, those are modern science memes. What do you think?
I think it's awesome. You got to have humor in any field, and I also think that it effectively shows that scientists experience the same everyday frustrations as other people. They're just a different venue and different materials and methods.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming to our first episode of Actual Mad Scientist Reacts. And
thank you for having me.
okay.